What is up, everybody? We are back for another episode of the Movies That Make You podcast. We're so excited that you clicked on the link and followed us here at Movies That Make You, and hope that you'll give us a subscribe and just check us out every single week. We drop new episodes every Monday, most of the time every Monday, but today is a special day, so we're dropping it on Sunday because it's Father's Day. And just like we did for Mother's Day last month, we're doing Dad's top 5 this month. Just like we did Mom's top 5 on Mother's Day, we're doing Dad's top 5 this month. So I'm very excited to share my favorite movies with the boys, and the discussion that we had was a lot of fun. Just trying to connect the dots for them on the movies that I like and that I love, and why. A few of them they've seen and a few of them they haven't. And so it was a lot of fun to have this discussion. And a lot of them we'll probably end up seeing later this year, probably, as we find time to watch movies. So if you're new to the podcast, you can check us out. Like I said, we drop episodes every Monday, but we are on Apple, we are on Spotify, we are on YouTube, and anywhere else the podcasts are, we are there. And so we hope you'll follow us there. Also, check us out on Instagram at Movies That Make You, and that's where you can check out different posts we post throughout the week that kind of usually highlight the whatever item, whatever movie we talked about on the episode. And then also you can check us out. All of our lists are found at Letterboxd under at I am Sprang. That's where you'll find the movies that make you laugh, the movies that make you cry, the movies that make you feel, the movies that make you scream, like all the lists that we talk about. The reason this podcast is here is on Letterboxd. So you can check out those lists there. And yeah, give us a like, give us a follow. We'd love it. And share us with your friends and family. A lot of times we have conversation with kids, and this one is a lot of fun because we believe that movies aren't just about entertainment, but they can also be a place where we learn and all that stuff. So without further ado, let's get to the podcast. We are back, and we are excited to have another episode of the Movies That Make You. We're going to go ahead and introduce ourselves. I am Sprang, and I am the dad.
I'm Connor, I'm 14.
I'm Jacob, and I'm 13.
I'm Colton. I had a band thing today.
I'm Ezekiel, and I'm a kid.
Nice. And yes, Colton had a band thing today. He gets crumble cookies for doing so well. And then we all get to have crumble cookies. So let's check in on everything real quick. How's everything going, Zeke?
Crumble Cookies is not sponsoring this video, but we would greatly appreciate a sponsor from them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, it's doing pretty good. Just playing basketball. It's kind of sad because I go outside to go play basketball, and then I remember the rim's gone because it fell over.
Yeah, we had some bad winds, and it blew the basketball goal over because it's just one of those that has water, and there's a crack, so it's leaking water. Just a mess. Connor, how are you doing, buddy?
Good. I made my YouTube channel, and it's doing pretty good.
Nice. Yeah, and we're going to be sure to check us out on YouTube if you want. Movies That Make You. We're going to make him a future channel as well. Jacob, how's life for you?
Pretty good. I had a good workout today. We were doing tire stuff. It hurt.
We were doing tire stuff too.
Very cool.
What'd you do?
We had 2 people, and we would get under the tire and flip it over, and we would take it to the 40, and it would have to actually cross the 40 line. And then, so there'd be a line of 4 people or 8 people, and there'd be 4 groups of 2 people. And the first 2 would go run, and while the people are waiting in line, they have to be in push-up position or plank, and they'd push it all the way. They'd push it 5 pushes at a time, and then the next person would go, and then they would do 5 pushes, and then they'd get to the 40, and then bring it back, and then whatever.
Cool. So for Mother's Day, we talked to Mom about her 5 favorite movies, and so that was a lot of fun. So I thought that we'd do the same thing for Father's Day, and I'd share with you guys my 5 favorite movies. That sound like fun?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So these are going to be movies maybe you've seen, maybe you haven't seen. Some of the movies I think we're going to see this year at some point, but we're going to go through them. So, and what we could do, what we're going to do over the summer, because there's some weeks that don't have like epic movies that are coming out that we need to prepare for, we're going to let you guys choose some of the movies that we watched. And so I know, Connor, you've already said Fast and Furious, so we're going to try to knock out Fast and Furious franchise. And Zeke, you said Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, so we're going to knock that one out. Colton, do you have a movie that you would like to watch? One of your favorite movies that you'd like to do a podcast on?
Maybe the Giannis movie. That'd be a cool podcast.
Oh yeah, we could do that.
Yeah, isn't that called like Rise or something? Yeah. I want to do the Matrix
Oh, okay.
with like me and Connor.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
We can do that.
The KD movie where the guy steals his
So I think it'd be fun because a couple of those kind of movies, it'd be fun to do a couple of them. There's one called Like Mike, and he gets Michael Jordan's shoes, and he becomes like, and it's the same story I think as the KD one, but he gets KD's jumper and whatever his fadeaway. So we would definitely hit the Matrix, but think about something else, Jacob. Something that's your like what you like what a movie that you like that we haven't talked about yet.
It.
Ooh.
All right, but think about it. Think about it.
I mean, okay. I'll think about it.
Yeah. Cool. Let's. So ready to jump into it? Ready to hear my top 5 movies?
Yeah.
All right.
I don't even know this. We don't even know this.
You don't know them. Yeah. You don't have any clue. But the first one on the list is. Has anybody ever heard of Shakespeare?
He's my personal favorite social studies character. He wrote a bunch of plays. His father worked at a glove shop. He was like, "Father, I don't want to work at a glove shop. I want to write beautiful poetry. Oh, I must. Father, you must let me go." And then his father was like, "Okay, sure, fine." After they heard there was a wool shortage.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I didn't know all that. Jacob, Shakespeare.
Yeah, he's the guy that has a skull thing, and he made like Romeo and Juliet and stuff.
And
Okay.
Hamilton.
Yes.
Yep.
Not Hamilton. Not Hamlet. Hamlet.
Oh, Hamlet.
All right. So my number 5 movie of all time is Romeo and Juliet. And here's why. The movie came out in 1996, and it was so crazy because the script was excerpts from the play. They didn't do the whole play because the whole play is like 3 hours. So they didn't do the whole thing, but they basically caught the high points, and so that you could get the story. It's all in the original Old English, which is the these, the thous, all right, all the things that we don't really talk like this day. And always growing up, I always had this fascination with his plays because everything that he does is like everybody talks about him all the time. So when I was in school, I always was fascinated by it, but I didn't really understand what it was saying. So this movie, it took the script and the idea and the story, and they had the script was written in that as excerpts from the play, but all of the visuals, the setting was all modern day. And so it was, instead of swords, they had guns. Instead of chariots, they had cars. And all their dress, all their clothing was all hip and cool. But they still talked in that Old English. But because they were delivering it in a way that I could understand visually, everything made sense. And it was crazy.
Isn't Romeo and Juliet a Taylor Swift song?
No, it's not a Taylor Swift song. She talks about Romeo and Juliet but she's referencing that story in her song.
Story.
Yeah, love story.
What if there was something like that, but it was old, like all old, but then they talked new, like Skit Sigma and like Riz and stuff.
That would be kind of wild for sure. But this is a big one for me. Okay, so I need to tell you guys a little secret and why it's so high on the list. Okay, so when I saw it, everybody remember what came before Blu-rays? What came before Blu-rays?
Those disc things. It's like a black little. I don't know. It's
Yeah,
CDs.
a black box.
Close.
VHS.
So DVD, but then before that it was
VHS.
VHS.
Oh, I said CD right after I thought of VHS.
It came out originally in VHS. So I loved the movie so much that I took the VHS, the VCR, I hooked it up to our TV, but then I hooked the audio up to my tape recorder, and I recorded the entire movie on an audio cassette, and I listened to it to and from school every day, like my entire senior year of high school. Now, you're going to respect this, all right? Because if you're trying to rizz up some girl, what's going to be more rizzy than quoting some Shakespeare to her? To quoting some Romeo and Juliet.
Yo,
Right?
I should do that, but like for shoot, what's a good love? I don't know any good love movies.
I mean, Romeo and Juliet. You can't
Yeah,
beat it.
I mean,
You can't beat it.
Yep.
I know also a good love movie called Elemental. It's about basically a fire and water
Yeah.
people.
Well, what's interesting is that's kind of the same storyline, because the idea of Romeo and Juliet is these two lovers that are part of warring families, dueling families that don't get along. It's like basically like gang warfare, and they aren't supposed to like each other. They aren't supposed to be around each other, but they fall in love. And then it's like, how do we get through this? How do we make it? I can't live without you. So what are we going to do about it? So it's similar to that, because water and ice, they don't mix. Water and fire, sorry, don't mix. So how do we make that work? And so it's a similar storyline.
Doesn't Mom like Romeo and Juliet?
Yes, she does.
That's so funny.
So you got Rizzy by listening to Romeo and Juliet.
Yes, every day, and I can still quote it. I can still quote it to this day. But I won't do it for the podcast. I won't do. You want a little clip? Little clip?
Yeah.
But soft, what light flew yonder window breaks? It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon, which is already sick and pale with grief that thou her maid art far more fair than she. Be not her maid, she is envious. Her vestal liveries are but sick and green, and none but fools do wear it. Oh, cast it off.
I got like half of it.
So that's any questions for Romeo and Juliet? All right. So that's number 5. Number 4, Scream.
What? Oh,
Jenna Ortega is in the most recent ones, yes, but I'm talking about the original Scream, and I can't spoil it. I'm not going to spoil it for any of you, but it is a horror movie. And when I was growing up, I remember there was this one time that I saw that Grammy had rented Halloween and Halloween Part 2, back the 80s version. And then she had some friends over and they're going to watch it. I have to stay in my bedroom and all that stuff. But from that point, and even probably before that, I always had a fascination with like the scary stuff, like Jason and Michael Myers and Freddy Krueger. And I remember the first time I saw Freddy Krueger. Do you guys know who those guys are? Who's Freddy Krueger?
Freddy Krueger is the guy with like the melted, disoriented face, and he has like one hand with like super like disoriented nails and stuff, and the other hand is just like kind of human.
Yeah. So that's Freddy. Do you know Jason?
No, I know Freddy, but Jason could have got away from him easily, and anybody can get away from Freddy Krueger easily. Just don't go to sleep.
And how easy is that to not sleep ever?
Or you could just move out of Ohio, because that's where it is. That's where it is.
Only in Ohio? Is that what you mean?
But it actually is in Ohio. That's where the story takes place.
Okay, cool. All right, so Jason's the one with the hockey mask, right? So everybody knows that one. Freddy Krueger's got the nails. Yep, burnt face, scary nails, and he hunts you in your dreams. Well, Michael Myers, it's actually a white mask, and he hunts babysitters. And he's the original slasher film. He is the one that set like all the other slasher films. I almost had Halloween. That was on my list, but then when I realized that I wouldn't have been introduced to Halloween without watching Scream first. So in college, I kind of did a similar thing that I did with Romeo and Juliet. I took audio clips from the movies and I made it all of my sounds on my computer. When I would click something, like dun dun, like don't do that but sound, like it was like like it would say a Scream quote. And so everything I did on my computer was all Scream quotes. So that's how nerdy I was around it. Scream, the first one I think was 96, 97, and then the next one, Scream 2 came out in like I think 99, something around there. So that was in college at the time. But yeah, so basically it's a modern day story. Okay, regular teenagers, but then there's killings. There's people that are getting killed in their town, and it feels like it's a horror movie. It feels like you're in a horror movie. And actually, the killer calls the victim first and talks them through about scary movies. Which scary movies do you like? So it's referencing all of these older movies. So it's referencing Freddy. It's referencing Poltergeist. It's referencing When the Stranger Calls. So some of the movies that we've even seen, When the Stranger Calls, last year we watched that one. So it's referencing all these movies. So then when I got to college, I wanted to like watch all those movies, but it was Scream that introduced me to them.
Is Michael Myers Nightmare on Elm Street, or is that Freddy Krueger?
It's Freddy Krueger. So Michael Myers is Halloween. And then it actually spawned all of these other horror films after it that were just like dates. So like Halloween, and then there was Valentine's Day, and then there was. So it's funny that last year came Thanksgiving. It's like funny story. And then there's one this year that's called Founders Day, and it's like okay, but I think part of that is they're kind of somewhat. I think those are tongue in cheek, like playing on that idea of these picking a day and going with it. And Friday the 13th is just doesn't mean anything really for the movie except that 13 is an unlucky number. So that's pretty much what it comes from. But there's a really crazy twist to Jason, to Friday the 13th movies that I'm not going to tell you because at some point we'll watch those when you guys are a little older.
If 13 is so unlucky, then why is that Taylor Swift's number?
That's why, because she's turning it to make it lucky.
So what about like what was his name again? Oh, Hannibal Lecter.
Hannibal Lecter's from a series called, or from a movie called Silence of the Lambs, and that was a more realistic movie, not so much like a slasher film that's kind of fantasy and not real. It's more realistic. He's an actual serial killer, like a real serial killer that is that's been captured. So
Wasn't he like a cannibal? Did he eat the victims?
yeah, that is what Hannibal Lecter did. How do you know that? Okay, that's enough. So the real cool thing is that it's kind of a mystery because you don't know who the killer is, and then it's like over the course of the movie they try to give you clues and you try to figure it out, and then all that stuff. So definitely a fun movie, fun film. I'm actually going to be able to get to see it here in a couple weeks, and it's going to have actually some of the original actors that are going to be there to talk about the film. So very excited for that.
I think Scream's kind of goofy because, like, he's only walking. He's not like you can juke him out, and then boom, you're gone in 3 seconds.
So you haven't seen the movie. He doesn't walk slow. He runs. He runs after their victims. Yeah, it's grounded. So Scream is grounded, and it's also referencing, and they actually make those comments. Like one of the jokes of Scream is, "Don't ever say I'll be right back," because you won't be back, because you're gonna get killed when you say in a horror movie when you say I'll be right back. They go and do something. They're all by themselves, and then of course the killer kills them, and everybody's like, "Where did they go? Oh, I don't know." So they kind of play on that, and that's what made it so fun because it's called being meta. It's talking about like this thing that's real and actually calling it out in the movie, stuff that we talk about in real life, and it's kind of playing on two different levels because it is a movie, but it's commenting about movies. So that was really, really fun, and the idea was so fun and crazy, and then the fact that it also introduced all of these, and there's a big twist at the end. It's just so many good things.
I was just wondering about like maybe in the future they're gonna do something like with Scream, and they're just gonna do like all the 2024 stuff, like FNAF, Thanksgiving, and all just the normal 2023 or 4 stuff.
So that's interesting because actually, so this movie came out in '96. It's referencing all the old ones, but there's been 6 Scream films. The 7th one is coming out, I think, next year. And they have been updating, like talking about the movies, because the original had a sequel. So then they made jokes about all of the sequels, all the horror sequels. And then the 3rd one, they made comments on all the trilogies. And then the 4th one came out, we didn't think we were going to get. And that one actually played on streaming. It played on all the facts of like the movies that are kind of hit camera, following a camera thing, and everybody blogging about movies and podcasting about movies. And then it just keeps, so they keep kind of doing that trick where they're playing on the current state of movies, of horror films. And actually one of the films starts with 5 fake starts, 5 fake beginnings, because it starts and it's like so I'll say this real quick. So the second movie, it opens with a couple going to see the movie Stab, which is a play on the story of the first film, because there was an author that wrote a book in the movie about those killings, and then this is the movie. They're going to see the movie made about the first film in the movie. So kind of crazy. So in one of the films, I think it's Scream 4, it does a fake out to where it's Stab 5, Stab 6, Stab 7, and it's like you didn't know that you were in like you're actually in Stab 7, and so it's kind of crazy. It's silly, but it's one of those, that movie in itself really actually kind of kick-started horror films, because horror films had kind of gone by the wayside. That Scream introduced this new idea. There were a bunch of films that started coming out, and I'd say that modern horror is really here because of Scream, because it kind of pulled it out of the gutter a little bit. So
Pull it out of the grave.
well done, Connor. Well done. All right, that's number 4. Let's drop to number 3. Going up to number 3. My third favorite movie of all time. This is one you know. Avengers Endgame.
I knew it.
Only one of the greatest movies of all time.
Yeah, it is definitely. And here's the thing too. So we've seen all the Marvel movies. We've seen most of them twice now, at least. And like I said in a previous episode, like I feel like it's these 20 or so movies, 23 movies that are just this nice solid story. And Endgame is the culmination of that. So while I would say to some that might have a problem or might say that Endgame isn't the best movie, for me, the reason it's number 3 on my list is because while as a movie it might not be elevated to be as entertaining or as great as some other movies, or some might even say Infinity War is better than Endgame as a movie. But for me, the wrap up of all of the things, of all 23 of those movies, the way that it pulled all of those things in, the Easter eggs, the references, the callbacks, and the way that they wrapped it up, and the epic fights, and that it's Cap getting Mjolnir and fighting with I mean, they've been teasing that since Age of Ultron, and it's like they pulled it right back, and it's just incredible. So for me, the reason it's that high and the reason I put it above all the others is because it's really the culmination of all 23 of those films.
My favorite part, I think this was in Endgame, but it's like, there's no way we can fight that whole army alone, and like, we're not alone. And then all these people start coming out of Dr. Seuss's portal, or
Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange's portals, and like, it's just so sick.
Yeah, it's amazing. That was an amazing morning, and the reference is also a callback. The line that breaks it, Cap standing there. I mean, that's the most beautiful moment. He's standing, and we talked about this, I think, on a previous, but he's standing there. Tony's knocked out. Thor's knocked out. Cap is standing alone. His shield is half broken, and he does not stop. He visually and without saying it says with his body and his framework, "I could do this all day, Thanos." And he stands alone against the entire army of Thanos. And he pulls the strap on his shield one more time, and all of a sudden, his earpiece crackles on your left, which is a callback to Captain America: Winter Soldier. And then all of a sudden, on your left, and then it opens up, Black Panther walks through, and Falcon flies through. It's just incredible. What's your favorite part, Jacob?
Probably that same moment where it's the pan from Captain America, and it's him on one side, and then the whole army on the other side. Yeah. It's just crazy cool.
Incredible. What about you, Connor?
Wallpaper.
Yeah, I know. Well, I think that's an incredible just image. Just that shot alone is just. What about you, Connor? What's your favorite part of Endgame?
I don't know. It's an editing mistake. There's whenever he breaks the shield, and then it goes to like another shot, and the shield like far away, and the shield is fixed.
Oh, gotcha. So that's your favorite part. Yeah. All right, cool. Zeke, what about you? What's your favorite part of Endgame?
Probably when he says Avengers Assemble.
That's another one. Like they had been teasing that at the end of Age of Ultron. He says it right before they cut. It cuts. He says Avengers, and it cuts. They tried it. They said it so many times, and they never said Assemble throughout all 23 movies. And they saved it for this one epic moment where there's hundreds of Avengers ready to fight Thanos and his army, and he finally says it. It's just so epic.
I saw this YouTube short about Tom Holland, and it was like behind the scenes, and Captain America says Avengers, and he runs, and it was like, we didn't even start. He didn't say assemble, and it was like, what? He never says assemble, and it was just really funny.
That is funny. Very cool. So that's my number 3. Any other thoughts on Avengers Endgame?
I just think it's a great movie to wrap up a good series.
For sure.
Not wrap up, but like
end
a story.
A part of the story, a chapter in Marvel. And so Marvel's kind of taken a dip since then. There's only been a couple of movies that have been good, like we talked about. Guardians of the Galaxy 3
Yeah.
is really good. A couple of the other ones, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever was
That was a good
good.
one.
There's been a couple that have been good, but a lot of them have been kind of mid, and so they're really hoping that that Deadpool and Wolverine movie will be kind of bring it out of the gutter. So
Man, I wish I could see that.
I know. We'll see. We'll see when we can put that on the schedule. But yeah, rated R, and it's not just like a regular R. It's like as far R as you can go because he's like that's the point of his character is to be
Yeah.
over the top. So cool. All right, so my number 2 movie, my second favorite movie of all time, Star Wars: Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know it
Okay.
might not be your favorite movie, and I know it's not necessarily everybody else's favorite movie. A lot of people put Empire Strikes Back above that, but for me, Return of the Jedi was the one that just grabbed me, and I watched it more than anything, more than any other of the Star Wars movies. I watched that one growing up. I feel like that it's the combination of you meet Jabba the Hutt the first time. They're rescuing. That's the desert scene where they're trying to rescue Han. Luke ignites the green saber. Like, what's going on here? He goes to Dagobah to see Vader. I'm sorry, to see Yoda, and Yoda dies. And then he has to talk to Obi-Wan about why didn't you tell me? We meet the Ewoks. You got the speeder bikes we talked about last time that I just loved. The Ewoks are running around. It's just all of that stuff. And then and then I think just the final confrontation, where Luke has to try to get Vader to turn back to the light side, and all of that stuff. I mean, it's so good. Then the final fight, and then it's instead of killing Vader, he takes his hand, like we talked about in the Star Wars episode, and the Emperor tries to kill him, and Vader steps in and stops him. I mean, it's just this cool thing. I mean, Vader says the entire time, like, I'm not, there's no good in me. There's nothing else. The Emperor has my heart. The Emperor has my everything that's in me. It's just totally corrupt. There's no hope. Even Vader said that about himself. And yet Luke sees this hope in him and says, you're going to do it. And it's seeing his son going through that pain that turns Vader back to the light. So, so good. And I think again, it's the wrap up of that original trilogy ends up also being the wrap up of that kind of the 6-movie arc of Anakin's journey from being a kid all the way to turning to the dark side, and then kind of like we talked about last time. So, yeah, really, really cool.
There was something funny in Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. It said, in the last movie, it was like, Anakin, help me! Oh wait, he's not here this time. And it was Rey battling him, and he was like, oh, Anakin's not here this time. Oh well. I'm dead now.
Yeah, that's funny. The Lego games really do a good job of playing on the story and kind of poking fun at it, but also being very, very respectful to the content as well. So I know we just finished our Star Wars episode a few weeks ago, but anybody have any thoughts on Return of the Jedi?
It was just like really fun playing the Lego version of it, and I think they did a really good job of just animating it. You should play the new Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga. It's really fun. I would definitely accept a sponsor from it.
Absolutely. Colton, what about you? Return of the Jedi thoughts?
I remember that movie.
Oh, okay. We'll have to watch it again then, I guess.
No, we've already done the entire series.
We've done the entire, but it's not one that we're just gonna stop watching.
And Zeke, you complain about me not wanting to watch a movie I've already seen, and it's a movie that's so silly that I don't know. It's just the stupidest
What
movie
movie
ever.
was it?
You remember Ugly Dolls? Like, I'm not gonna see that again. I don't want to see
Dude,
that
I
again.
love that movie. I love that movie. The plot was so good, and the animation style was just nostalgic.
Remember how many times we watched Encanto?
Oh, Encanto?
We watched that so many times.
That was a couple of summers ago, and actually, I haven't even watched it. Like, you guys watched it in the summer, like over and over, and I think you probably watched it at your dad's, and I still have not seen it. So we're gonna have to do a couple of Disney movies and do an episode on Disney movies because your mom hasn't seen Moana, We could do Encanto, and we could do Elemental or something like that.
Moana 2 is coming out.
I know.
And
So yeah,
the live action one is coming out too.
Yeah,
I
so we got
think.
2 more Moana movies. Yeah. So it's gonna follow her like after she's a little grown up and stuff. So
And the live action with The Rock.
The Rock's gonna play, and I think the girl that voiced it is gonna play
Really?
her in the movie too. I think.
Okay.
Rock voiced Maui.
Yeah.
Right, and he's gonna play him Maui in the live action version. That's what Jacob was just saying.
There's one movie for you, Inside Out. I've watched it a million, billion, trillion, quadrillion times, and it never gets old, and I can't wait for the second.
I know. So we're gonna have to watch that this summer as well, and do our podcast episode on that before it comes out. So that'll be good. All right. So are you ready for the number 1 movie?
Yeah.
I think we could probably guess it.
It's Matrix.
It is The Matrix. Yes, The Matrix is. I know it's not one that you guys have seen, but it is life changing for me. Like I did a podcast with Wilmer, one of our listeners, about a couple months ago. We talked through it because it was the 25th anniversary of its release. But this summer we're gonna watch it, and at some point, and just you guys get to be introduced to this series. But the first movie is so epic. For me, it's the whole series that's epic, but the first movie is so great, and that's the one that's on the top of my list. My favorite movie of all time. It's a combination of the things I loved growing up. So like kung fu. Like I love like sitting and like Jacob, we've done that some here too, where I'll just put on a kung fu movie. Like we got to just watch this just because it's so fun to see the choreography, to see all the special effects that they tried to do back in the day, and just kind of see like what could they come up with, because anybody can throw some punches, but these guys are doing something way bigger than that, and it's way different. And so being able to see those fight scenes was always cool. And The Matrix had the choreographer for some of the best kung fu movies from China ever. They got him, the fight choreographer, to come over, and they challenged him to rethink how he choreographed fights, because he was limited to the way that he'd always done it, and they were like, no, we want to do it this way. And it was like it completely changed that guy. So can you imagine being the best person at what you do, and having someone come alongside and say, hey, we want you to do that for us, and we want you to do it even better. We want you to think outside the box on what you already do amazing. And it's just mind-blowing. Then you add sci-fi on top of it. So it's futuristic, it's weird digital, it's video games, it's all that stuff. It's you're plugged into an online world. It's just crazy. On top of that, it's philosophy. It's why do we exist? It's what is real, what is not. What should I put my faith in? What should I put my hope in? Should I want the truth, or do I just want to live in a fantasy? It's a combination of all those things, and that's why it's number 1 on my list.
How far does a rabbit hole go?
Well done.
I especially love one of the quotes because there's a lot of pop culture in Teen Titans Go. I especially like one of the quotes where it's like, whoa, I just learned kung fu.
And then Morpheus says, show me. Oh, so he can't just say he knows it. They've got to fight.
They did that in Gumball, but it was Tung Fu. Also, it's kind of off topic, but Homer's favorite movie is Fast and Furious 7.
Oh, that's fun. That's really cool. That's really cool. So I know Matrix has probably been referenced. I mean, you guys know about, like, okay, so take all that I just said, right? Add on top of that the bullet time technology they introduced. You guys have seen the clips, right?
Yeah.
Where Neo is like dodging a bullet. That's the first time that had ever been done. There's a scene where they're running at each other and they're shooting at each other, and they jump in the air and spin around, and the camera's spinning around them. Like that's the Matrix. All of the action movies that you guys have grown up with, that are especially new ones, they wouldn't exist. They wouldn't be what they are without the Matrix, because the Matrix took action movies to a whole nother level with the stunt choreography that they did, the visual effects. It was just next level. So very cool. Guys, got any thoughts? Any last thoughts on Matrix?
Sigma.
Yep, it's definitely Sigma. Cool.
Relatable.
Well, I guess that'll do it for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed my top 5. Did you enjoy it?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah, that was good.
Cool.
Some good movies.
Well, we'll be able to see some of those that you haven't seen this year. So very excited for that. And we'll catch you guys next time.
Yeah, Mr. Krabs.
Well, I sure do hope that you enjoyed those conversations. I know I did. I enjoyed sharing those movies with the boys and kind of letting them guess a little bit, but also just kind of sharing a little bit about how these movies have influenced me, how these movies make me who I am. And man, we're going to get into a Matrix episode. I know we had one with Wilmer, but I know that I'm going to get into a Matrix episode with the boys as we get a little older. Maybe later this year with the older two, kind of share that movie with them. The first one, and I know that's going to be a fun conversation to have too, to kind of help them open up their mind and think about life a little bit differently. But yes, that's such a fun conversation to have, and sharing my life and my heart with the boys and why these movies mean so much to me. So thanks for joining us. I'm glad you enjoyed that. Hope you enjoyed that. So next up, we've got Quiet Place next week. In anticipation of day one, we watched through the first two movies, and we get in some really great conversation. I've mentioned it over the last couple of weeks. It is really one of our best conversations, and it's a lot of fun to dive into those characters. The week following that, we've got Despicable Me in anticipation for Despicable Me 4. We're going to hit up all of the movies, the 2 Minions movies and the 3 Despicable Me movies, and we're going to dive into those, have some fun with them, and laugh and cry and all the things. The week following that, there's nothing coming out in the theater that's too big. So we're going to jump into one of the boys' movies that they wanted to do, and that is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. We're going to jump into that. I haven't seen it yet, so I'm looking forward to watching it, and so we're going to have some fun with that, and then just talk about all things Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and kind of see what all we've seen, and see what our favorite turtle is and all that stuff. So should be fun. The week following that, we've got Twister. We're going to watch Twister with the boys, discuss the movie in anticipation of Twisters, the sequel. So that's what's coming up on the podcast. We hope that you'll join us each and every week as we have some fun and have these conversations that are using entertainment to develop these deeper meanings. So until next time, keep watching movies.